Null-dimensional universe. Today we will begin the story about the null-dimensional universe. Each change of universes in the mythological consciousness of ancient people is a grandiose transition from the established picture of the universe to a new picture, and means the death of the former gods in a brutal struggle with the gods newly born, means the complete collapse of the usual ethical values and traditions and the painful acquisition of new ones. This has always been the case and continues to this day. Speaking the language of modern psychology, when changing mythologies, a person experiences insight and a change of gestalt. Mastering of the next dimensionality, one unit higher, is very difficult and requires from a person full tension of all forces, because it is a giant step in the development of his consciousness. The previous dimension and the next dimension are fundamentally different states of consciousness, like two discrete states of a system in physics. The vacuum-like void separating them opens between them due to a quantum transition jump. As a cell turns inside out during division, so the previous mythological universe, turning inside out into the subsequent one, turns every time into its aspectual opposite. The null-dimensional universe, as opposed to the preceding emptiness, is the manifested being of the universe in its entirety and inseparable integrity. The highest ethical value in the null-dimensional universe is the completeness and indissoluble integrity of universal being. The human being here does not stand out from the integrity of the universal being in any way. The null-dimensional mythological universe, together with all its innumerable inhabitants, fits into one point. All inhabitants are simultaneously in one point and in each other. How is that possible? How is this even imaginable? Or is it just a poetic metaphor? No, it's not a metaphor. It's a special ancient kind of worldview. It's based on the physical principle of quantum wave dualism. Quantum wave dualism means any quantum of light is both a point and a spherical wave of infinite radius. So also the null-dimensional universe is both a point and a spherical wave of infinite radius. Yogis during meditations experience similar zero-dimensional states. They feel that their energy body rapidly expands in all directions and fills the visible and invisible volume of the universe. At the same time, the yogi's consciousness, like a spark, stays simultaneously in one point and, if desired, everywhere. The null-dimensional universe is represented by a sacral symbol called mandala. It is a circle with a dot in the center. As in the figure, the ancient mandala gave rise to a number of similar sacred symbols. Suncrest, different variants. Crosses, different variations. Moons and crescents, different variations. Yin-yang. Stars with different numbers of rays. And so on. All this variety of symbols goes back to the ancient mandala. These symbols in different cultural traditions, in different historical epochs carried different semantic load. For example, the symbol of the world tree. It is schematically depicted as follows. The central axis of the tree penetrated the three worlds: lower, underground, middle, earth, and upper, heaven. In mythological and shamanic traditions it was believed that each of the three worlds had four sides of the world. Total, the world tree gave 14 directions. Here it is possible to mistake these 14 directions for 14 dimensions. In order not to make this mistake, we need to use the notion of dimensionality of space, which was mentioned earlier. We will not go into mathematical subtleties of this notion. Let's open a simple mathematical dictionary. The dimensionality of a linear space is defined there as the largest number of linearly independent vectors in it. From this point of view, 14 directions of the world tree are reduced to 3 linearly independent vectors in three-dimensional space. Hence, the symbol of the world tree can have interpretation three-dimensional. Or it can have a null-dimensional interpretation, when the form of being is defined as everything in everything, i.e. there is no sweep of being by linearly independent vectors yet. The number of null-dimensional myths created at different times in different areas of culture is immense. Under null-dimensional myths we mean those myths which contain as a dominant dimension 0 and ethics corresponding to this dimension. From the point of view of geometrical basis and ethics corresponding to this basis, myths of different regions and peoples are identical. Null-dimensional myths can be subdivided into the following thematic blocks. Myths of the beginning of existence, creation. Myths of null-dimensional space. Myths of null-dimensional time. Myths of struggle with characters of the previous dimension. Myths of the beginning of being, creation. Their variations in different peoples are countless. The essence of the process boils down to the fact that the pervapotences, for example, chaos and abyss, unite, and from this union the first gods are born, which later create all the diversity of the manifested world. A well-known classical example is the ancient Greek pantheon of gods headed by Zeus, who miraculously escaped in his infancy from being eaten by his father, -dimensional, Kronos. The whole pantheon is null-dimensionally, i.e. at one point, centered on the top of Mount Olympus. In the Rig Veda, the beginning of existence is said to originate from an egg, a symbol of null-dimensionality, a mandala floating in cosmic waters, a symbol of the previous void universe. All null-dimensional myths, irrespective of their conventional belonging to one or another thematic blocks, carry null-dimensional dimensionality, ethics, space and time belonging only to them. Null-dimensionality is characterized by fluid instability. Continuously everything turns into everything. A bird turns into a stone turns into a man turns into a tree, and so on. Infinite intertransformation is the existence of all beings and objects about one point, which at the same time, according to the principle of quantum wave dualism, is a spherical wave of infinite radius. Next time we will continue consideration of the null-dimensional mythological universe.